Hey guys, welcome back to the Beta Mindset podcast. Today, I have many different things I want to talk about, things that I've been experiencing the past couple weeks. The first one being how much my life has changed since I started to go for what I want instead of going for what feels safe. And it's honestly so insane how sneaky that, came out, like, how I just took a lot of the safest routes without realizing it, the way I would rationalize what I was going for in life or why I wasn't going for certain things. It seems so unconscious, and that's the thing, your defense mechanisms and your traumas will always find a very, how do you say, clever clever way to keep you from doing the things that you like, and instead of pushing you, instead they push you to do what feels safe. And lately in life, I think it's really been because I've been on my own ever since I moved to New York. I've been very, very alone. And I think because of the lack of outside noise or family and my parents and expectations, I've finally kind of been able to, hear my own intuition and ask myself, what do I want in life? Like, if no one is around watching, if no one's telling you what to be or what you should be, if your sister, I have a twin sister, she's not around helping you reinforce a certain way of being, like, who would you want to be? Like, what do you want to become? And honestly, it's done is lead me back to things that I really liked as a kid. And I touched on that a bit on a different episode where I was basically talking about finally going after the things I want to go after. And it's been really nice. I feel like my life and myself and just my being feels just a lot more aligned. I think for a lot of my life, I was going after things certain things that pushed me away from things that I am going after now because I was so scared of everything I'm trying to, indulge myself in. I think I really am trying to get more in the creative scene. I think I've always been unconsciously scared of this, and because of that, my mind and my implicit behaviors just took me to every other field or every other domain instead of the more creative side. And recently, I have started going for what I want and kind of using that as my compass. Like, what do I actually like? Like, fear aside or any expectations aside, what do I like doing? And that's really been what I've been focusing on every single day. It's definitely hard because I also need money. But I'm just gonna have to face those challenges when it comes to doing what you want, but also needing to pay your bills. I think that's definitely gonna be the next big challenge that I face and that many people face in their 20s. But I definitely don't think I'm gonna ever let that stop me from also tending to the things I like. And obviously, everyone's ideal is to work a job that you also like it. But I think that is something that you can build up to, not necessarily something like you have to be angry at yourself for not having access to in the current moment. But yeah, I think money has been one of the biggest things that I have been kind of stressed about. Like, as I've, started entering my mid 20s, I'm 24 and getting off of like my parents' help. I've been a little bit anxious about money, but I'm sure I'll figure it out. But something else I really want to touch on because I've been experiencing this lately in my own life is needing to appreciate who you are now instead of waiting to get to a certain version of you to appreciate yourself. You're still a walking, living, worthy person right now. I think a lot of us, set out to become this version of ourselves. We want to look a certain way, we want to become a certain way, we want a certain job, we want certain friends, we want a certain life. And when we develop that vision for ourselves, it's like we don't even appreciate who we are right now. We only appreciate ourselves when we get to that destination. But you're still you right now. Like, that's the confusing thing. Like, the space between who you are right now and who you want to become, because there's that gap. We all go through like evolutions in life, whether it's the way we carry ourselves, our energy, the job we have, the friends we have, the career we have, just the feel and the in our day. From a really, it starts off from a really young age. Like, every several years we imagine this idealized version of ourselves that we want to become. And then, like, 5 years later, we realize, like, oh, I am the person I wanted to be 5 years ago. But the mistake I don't want to make again is not appreciating who I am right now. I'm worthy right now. Even if I don't have that job, even if I don't have those friends, even if I don't have that clothes, even if I don't have those opportunities, I am worthy of just liking myself right now, enjoying my life right now, understanding that life doesn't start when I get there. Life is right now. And I'm cultivating that ideal life or that ideal self moment to moment. It's not something I'm going to get to. It's not something distant. It's something that me right now is creating every day. And just because I'm not there yet doesn't mean I don't get to appreciate myself and the life I have right now. And I think having that perspective is really important because when you don't have that perspective, you just don't think you're important or good enough until you get to a certain idealized version of you, until you get those friends, until you get that look, until you get that life. And it's never gonna end. So humans love to evolve. We love to become. Literally life, and if you even look back at your life, it's constantly just us becoming. Us becoming a new version of ourselves, a new character, or solidifying a character for the next several years. And the process of becoming and wanting to, you know, uh, embody a new version of yourself is never going to end because the human mind loves novelty and we love expansion. And just to think, like, what if you only appreciate yourself and who you are when you get to a certain version of yourself? It's going to be a never ending cycle because there's always going to be, you know, uh, just more desirable versions of us. There's always going to be another part of you want to explore. There's always going to be a new look you want to look like. There's always going to be more. The human mind always craves more. And that being said, it's not wrong that we always want to up level our life and grow and expand. But I am not going to wait until I get to a certain point in life to recognize that I'm real right now. Like, I can love myself right now. I'm a real person who is worthy right now. Life starts right now. And I'm not going to wait to get to a certain destination to realize that. And that's the thing, a lot of times we see people usually talk about like how I'm talking about right now. Like, there's a certain version of myself I want to become. There are certain interests that I never let myself indulge in. So now that I've started to indulge in them, I want to grow in them. You start imagining a new future for yourself. And we see a lot of people talk about who they want to become. But why don't we ever talk about who you believe you are right now, appreciating who you are right now? And I think I'm just gonna ask you to take a second to put all your visions for yourself aside and appreciate who you are right now. The version of yourself that got yourself through the day today, your qualities, your traits, how you are today, appreciate that. Don't wait until you become something else to kind of give yourself the love that you deserve. I think we live in a world that is extremely future oriented. From a kid, it's always people asking you like, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's never what calls to you right now. What do you feel like you want in life right now? What do you like doing right now? Who do you believe you are right now? It's always, what do you want to become? Like, what's the vision for yourself? And obviously, that's a good function of the human ego and the human mind. The future, we have future orientation, but I think something that is important to practice and something that I practice for myself is just appreciating what I have and who I am right now. What do I want right now? What do I like right now? Appreciating just everything about myself right now instead of being so fixed on the future and who I'm going to become, because the more I only think about the future, the less I appreciate myself in the present moment. And I really think you deserve to feel worthy at all points in your life. And I know it's really hard to even emotionally grasp that. It's hard to emotionally grasp that. It's logical to understand that, oh, like, yeah, appreciate myself at all points. Like, don't just appreciate myself when I get there, when I get to that evolved version of me. But it's definitely hard to genuinely feel, especially with social media in the modern world. It's always about evolving, always about evolving, always about being the better version of yourself. But like, wrap your mind around the idea that you're great and worthy just the way you are right now. That evolved version of you is not something better than who you are right now. It's just something different than what you are right now. And I know it's kind of complex to understand it in that way, but it's genuinely, I think, the more compassionate way to comprehend yourself and your life, because I can appreciate myself right now, even though I don't have that life that I want, or I am not exactly everything I want to embody, because that version of me is not any more or any less worthy of like than this version. They're both the same. They're both worthy in the same way. I'm worthy at every point in my life. It's just different versions of me, but one's not more worthy than the other. I think for a lot of my life, I always just wanted the next version of me. This version of me isn't good enough. And when I did get to that next version of me, I would basically shit on past versions of me. And I just think that was a depiction of how I just hated myself into growing, which gave me a lot more trauma. Like, you think you're growing and evolving, and it's like, yeah, but like, what, it could look like that on the outside, but on the inside, if you were just hating every past version of you, are you really like feeling worthy in life? Are you really like giving yourself that compassion, or are you just hating yourself into being quote unquote better? And that's why I am kind of changing my perspective on these things. I am appreciating myself at every single point in my life. There is not one version of me that's better or worse than the other. They're all just different expressions of me. And I no longer want to shame myself for past versions of me. I don't want to feel like I'm less than right now because I am not the idealized version of me. Like I said, humans love expansion and we love evolving and we love novelty. I don't think for many people there will ever be a point where you think, okay, like this is enough. Like we'll always want more, which is a beauty and a curse. But that being said, it's important to to separate worth from these versions of you want to become, because at the end of the day these versions of you want to become is just us playing with the human experience, playing with the avatar that we're in. It has nothing to do with your innate worth. And once you really understand that idea, you'll be able to hold compassion and love for yourself in the spaces between each version of you. Another thing that I have been doing to begin giving myself the life that I desire and starting to step into a version of me that feels a little bit more aligned is getting used to saying no to things I don't want. And boy, is it hard? This is extremely new to me. I think I I think that I had imagined that I was already doing this, but no. I was not already doing this, because once I started to actually literally implement this act of saying no to things that I don't want, I would feel a little bit of guilt. Like it would feel like wrong. And it's so sneaky. Like these things, you know, doing what feels safe, saying yes to things even though you don't want to. It is these implicit ways of being that clearly I've grown up in, not realizing how much it affects my life and how much it just slowly takes you away from the life you want. Because the life you want is open and available to you. So, this is the way I think about it: the life you want, the career you want, the type of relationship you want, there is no one standing at that door saying you can't enter. There's no one standing at that door saying Veda is not allowed to have this person, she's not allowed to have this career, she's not allowed to have this life. There is no one at the door standing there with a sign saying that I'm not allowed in. So that being said, these opportunities are available to me at all points. The thing is me and my implicit thoughts and behaviors and perception of myself is what gets me closer to those doors or gets me further away. And obviously, these are things that we don't have conscious control over. You know, we're brought up with trauma and wounds that guide our lives. And there's always going to be many things in your subconscious that are going to pull you back from things that you do want for yourself. But that being said, through this human life, it's healthy and important to alter some of your perceptions when you get the opportunity so that you can break through some of the wounds and limiting beliefs that are like constantly slowly pulling you away from the life and relationships and careers you desire. So that's what I was realizing for myself, that there is nothing really standing in the way of the things that I want. The only thing that's standing in the way is myself. And a big factor in that is, what do you say yes and what do you say no to? Because it can be the smallest things, but it affects your time and your attention and your perceptions. And these three things, your time, attention, and perceptions, slowly affect your life. And it seems minute in the moment, but they make grand shifts. So as soon as I started to say no to everything that I actually didn't want, I started to only give my mind the option to perceive the things I do want. And I heard this, or I read this quote that somebody said, You don't create your reality, you eliminate pathways there. And I really resonated with that sentence because the way I view life is like there's many different possibilities, and what you continuously say no to, it starts to eliminate certain possibilities. And you basically eliminate possibilities so narrowly that you only live like a certain flavor of life. You only live like a certain path. And in that way, you're like eliminating everything else to the point where like you really have no other option than to perceive other things. So the more I would say no to things that didn't feel aligned or didn't feel like it was what I wanted, the more I started to see the things I did want at like a higher capacity. Because before, when it was just wishy washy, I would say yes to people that I didn't actually want to be with, or yes to opportunities that I didn't really want to go to. It leaves your attention open to those things. But the more I would say no to certain outings, to certain people, to certain situations, it literally gave me no other option than to start perceiving the things I do want more and more and more. And I'm telling you, like, this has changed my life. It has changed the situations I have found myself in. It has changed the thoughts that I get and what I believe is possible for me, because your mind is constantly generating thoughts based upon what you're expecting and what you believe is possible for you. So if you're constantly saying no to certain people or to certain outings or to certain like careers, your mind has no other choice than to give you another idea, another possibility, a different pattern to seek out, different interests and different people. Like it literally, your mind's like a massive like thought machine. Like it's just gonna send you new perspectives to take and new places to give your attention to. So the more I started to say no to everything I didn't want, the more I found myself just walking into everything I actually did want. But again, it's not like a fast thing, it's a gradual shift, because the reason I was saying yes to things I didn't want and saying no to things I did want was because I am unconsciously scared of everything I want. And it's so insane how they say that. They always say, like, oh, like, you don't feel like what you want is safe and that's why you don't have it. Like, but I now understand that on a visceral level. Like, I kid you not, every single thing that I think I really want, I am petrified of. I feel like it's unsafe. I feel like I'm not worthy for it. So I would just find myself gravitating to everything that I don't really want or that's just good enough. But then I would complain and be confused on why I didn't have what I wanted. But when I started to notice everything I was saying yes to, I'm like, that is exactly why I wasn't seeing the life that I wanted. As soon as I started to say no to everything I didn't want, and it was hard because it's so embedded in your mind and body. Like the habits that we have done for so long is so embedded in your mind and body that it's like it's so like hard to like begin changing. And when I did start changing it, like I felt guilt and I felt doubt, but I think I understand psychology enough to know like it's normal that that's what's first gonna happen. But eventually, it's getting a lot more easy. It's getting a lot easier to stay true to the things I actually want, and it's like kind of being ingrained into my expectations now. But it's definitely changed my life. Like I think saying no to everything I actually didn't want has made me be open to different possibilities, different people, different situations. And I had just mentioned how like when you say no to certain things, your mind kind of has no other option than to start changing your perception and what you're giving your attention to, because life moves on. We want relationships, we need jobs, we want social outings. Like, if you say no to certain things, your mind's just gonna orient you to the next thing it thinks you that you want. And in the same way, I also use that with like creativity, creating things, and finally doing something with myself. For the longest time, and I'm sure everybody that's grown up in my generation, I was constantly sitting online. I was constantly scrolling and scrolling, and you live your life, but you also scroll a lot, and it becomes this everyday thing to the point where like you don't even realize how much time you're losing. Because about a year ago, I had stopped scrolling. I will like click on my social media, but like the act of like scrolling on TikTok or like scrolling on Reels, it's been a year since I stopped, and the amount of things I started to do with myself and my time, and the amount of new thoughts and ideas and inspirations I started to get, it was just so grand. And was I feeling bored sometimes? Yeah. Was I feeling like confused, low energy, not understanding like what to do with myself? Yes. But that space between that desire for dopamine and not getting it from your usual thing like scrolling, that space, when you sit there long enough, your mind starts working on giving you more things to create. It starts giving you more ideas. And that's what I realized. Like, whenever I am kind of bored or like not knowing what to do with like a certain free moment of my day, I will not scroll. I will sit on my couch and think about, what do I want to do right now? What can I use my thoughts and emotion and like body to create right now? And it has changed my life in such a positive way. And that's the thing. Like, I don't give in. Like, I no longer give in, like, oh, I'm bored. Like, let me just go on my phone. I will sit there and be like, I don't care. Like, I am not going to go on my phone. So you up there, my mind, you're gonna give me an idea of what to do with myself right now. And I will sit there and finally come up with like creative things I want to do with myself. I'll finally, get to know myself better, get to know my interests. I'll do something meaningful with my time, and it's such small moments of the day, but it's created such insane shifts in my life, in my creativity, and my overall inspiration. And that's the thing I'll leave you with. Like, sit with the boredom until your mind gives you new thoughts. And lastly, one of the biggest things that has shifted my life for the better is doing something right now that could get me closer to the feeling of the experience I want to embody, the experience I want to come into my reality. And what I mean by that is, I have many desires, a lot of desires that are not in my life right now. I have many things I want. I have many things I want to experience that are not accessible to me right now, whether that's status, money, location, social life. Like, there is many things that I want, and I'm sure that you want too, that you just physically like don't have access to, whether that's the skill or the people, like you're just not there. But what I don't do anymore is let that stop me. So what I began to do is do one thing that I have that will give me the same feeling of the thing that I want to experience. And that has changed my life. It has made me feel like I have agency. It makes me feel like I have autonomy and free will. Because before, I used to have these grand ideas and these grand idealizations of things I want. And then I would think, yeah, but I don't have that. I don't have access to that. So I guess it's just not for me. I'm just not going to do it. And that's where I would stop. I would see all these people on social media have the life I want and then just think, yeah, we're separate. That is for them and that is not for me because I don't have access to that specific thing. And what I started to change was it's okay that I don't have access to that specific thing. But what is one thing I can do with myself right now? What is one thing I have in my room or with my friends? Like, what is one thing I have access to, whether that's an object or a person right now that can help me create the feeling of that? Thing that I want, of that future experience that I want. Because bottom line, under everything that we want is a feeling usually that we're looking for. And if you can just give yourself something that just mimics the feeling that you think that that thing is going to give you, I swear to God, like it begins to change your life and you begin to physically get closer to the things that you actually wanted just by doing things that you have access to right now. I stopped waiting for the grand thing. Like, it's not about that thing in the future, it's about the feeling that I think it's going to give me. What can I do right now that's going to make me feel the same way? And then I do that over and over and over again until a new possibility pops up, something that's a little bit closer to that thing that I wanted. And I swear to God, like life, God, like the universe, whatever you believe is working. Like it's always working in your favor. It's never trying to close off like any doors. Like, especially if what you want is coming from soul, is coming from love, it's coming from intrinsic motivation. Life wants to help you get there. God wants to help you get there. And don't think that the door is shut just because you don't see it in your life. Just stop for a moment and look around and think like, what is one thing that I do have right now that can give me that feeling? And I promise you, day in and day out, and you keep doing that, God's gonna show you the next thing. God's gonna show you like the next thing that's near you to gain more of that feeling. You're gonna meet someone, or you're gonna see like another object, or you're gonna like have a new idea that gets you closer to that end vision you have for yourself. And I can't like explain how this works, and I can't like scientifically prove it, but I know for certain in my being that my life has changed so much since I started to do that, because before I just locked myself in a prisoner of my own limiting beliefs. Like, I would be like, I don't have that life. I don't have that money. I don't have those friends. I don't have that camera. I don't have those exact things. So it's just not meant for me. Don't think about the thing, think about the feeling. I swear to God, like, I think that's what changed everything for me. When you boil everything down to the certain emotional experience you're wanting, many different things can give you that emotional experience. So keep doing the things that you have access to that give you the same emotional experience. And I'm making the promise to myself that one day I will experience the initial dream, the initial desire, because I'm doing the things that I have access to every single day that just give me the feeling that's adjacent to what I want. Just because you don't have access like visually or physically with that thing that you want at the end result does not mean that it's not for you. All it means is that you're gonna work with what you got until you get there. God opens doors. I believe that God will open doors. All you have to do is one thing every day that gives you that feeling that you're looking for. I'm gonna end this episode here. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope maybe some of you guys relate or got some new knowledge from it. I will see you guys in the next episode.